Hey, welcome everybody. My name's Hayden Crabtree. Today we're going to be going over how a loan gets paid off and why it's not exactly the way most people actually think it is. So what we're going to do is we're going to dive in. I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to point you in the direction of some free tools that you can use to become smarter, to view the actual stats. And this is going to help you become a better real estate investor, because if you can understand really on the balance sheet side of things, which is what we talk about in my book, Skip the Flip, Secrets to 1% Know About Real Estate Investing. On the balance sheet side of things, if we know where our assets are, how our assets are going to go up in time, not just from a property value perspective going up, but also from a debt side going down. One of the great things about that is we can actually predict and know with certainty exactly how much debt we're going to owe each and every single month for the rest of our lives, for the rest of these loan terms, right? So this is from page 126. If you've read the book, if you're currently reading the book, this is in the resources section. This is how debt actually gets paid down. So again, we're going to dive in. I'm going to share my screen with you, but if you haven't already, I want to ask you, please subscribe to the channel. I'm trying to grow the channel. I want to have a bigger impact on people. If you don't know, my goal is to help 1,000 people buy their first investment property. So this YouTube channel, which I pour time and energy and money into, is a way of me giving back, answering whatever questions you have, and trying to help other people. So I'd really appreciate it if you'd hit the subscribe button if you like this video, so the message can get out and help other people understand this exact same concept as well. So I won't ask anymore. Let's just get into it and I'll show you guys how it's done. So the first thing that you're going to want to do is you're going to want to go to Google, and you can just type in amortization calculator, right? Amortization simply means that it's going down. Let's see what the technical definition of amortization is, but it's pretty simple. Amortization to me just means that it's going to go down, the process of writing down the value of either a loan or an intangible asset. So amortization is something going down. So amortization calculator, and what I like to use right here is the second one called amortization-calc.com. So I'm going to click on this, and it's going to be pretty easy to use. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through here and just show you how it works. Number one, loan type. Doesn't really matter what you do here. No matter the loan type, all loans get paid down the exact same way if they're normal amortizing loans, which almost all loans are. Other loans that won't is going to be an interest-only loan, which are pretty rare for the average investor. Whenever you're a big developer or a really big apartment buyer, then you can get interest-only. But for our purposes, we're just going to choose a mortgage. A mortgage, most people think the mortgage is the loan, but the mortgage is actually the legal instrument that attaches a loan to a property. So mortgage in itself is just a legal document. It's often misused, which it is here, but that's fine. And then we're just going to go to purchase or refinance. Doesn't matter. They're going to get paid down the exact same way. Be the same thing. You can calculate the same way if you get an auto loan, if you get a business loan, if you get a personal loan. It's all calculated the exact same way. So it really doesn't matter here, but I'm just going to choose mortgage purchase, and took me here. That's fine. What we're going to do is I just want to show you guys how a $100,000 loan will work. So I'm going to do $100,000 here for the loan, and I'm going to do the down payment as $0. So we get a full $100,000 loan. And the today's rate's about 3.5%. I just want to show you a flat 5% and a loan term of, let's call it 20 years, because for commercial real estate, 20 years is pretty popular. And then I'm going to hit calculate here. So what you can see is that this is going to give us a lot of different interesting things that we can track over time. I don't really care about that. What I do want you guys to see is one of the most important things is the monthly principal and interest, okay? So let's do some quick math. We've got a $100,000 loan, and we've got a 5% interest rate on it. So that would mean that you think $100,000, 5% will pay $5,000 of interest a year, right? Well, it's actually wrong, okay? And it's not your fault. We're not really trained on this. But we pay 5% of whatever the outstanding balance is. And as we're going to see in a second, the balance is only $100,000 for one period in time. That's essentially when the mortgage is originated. So every year, we're going to be paying actually less than $5,000, and we also have to go to paying the loan back. Okay, so what I want you guys to look at, ignore this monthly payment. They're assuming some taxes, insurance. Let's go drop all this to 0. PMI, let's drop this to 0. All we want to see is the loan here, guys. Give us just the loan. Okay, so here we go. So the monthly, this loan to value 100%. So if we took out a 20-year loan in May of 2020, it'd be completely paid off in April of 2041. Makes sense. That's 20 years. Let's go down and let's take a look at the amortization schedule is where I really want to look at. So we could see if we originated it, the very first month, we're going to be paying $659 That's our total payment. That's going to be our total payment forever. But the breakup of where that $659 goes is going to vary every single month. There is never going to be one month that is the same as the other. And the reason for that is again, what I mentioned at the first part of this, that 5% interest that we're saying that we're going to pay is calculated off of how much we owe in that month, not even that year, in that month. So what we'll see here is that we start at an all-time high of $417 of interest. Again, we're making a payment of $659 here. And we can see that comes out to 659 times 12 is 7919, which is over the 5% of 100,000, over 5,000. And the reason for that is because we have to go and pay the loan back. So all this does is it runs a mathematical formula to figure out how much of a payment you need to make to be paying 5% on the money at all times, and how much of the principal you're going to be paying to getting that down to zero at the very end of that time. Boom, right here. So let's keep going. Sorry for scrolling everywhere. Let's go back and look at this. In May of 2021, we're going to pay $417 of interest and $243 of principal. Now we owed $100,000, so $100,000 minus $243 equals $99,757. Okay, so that's where that number comes from. That's our new balance. That means if we were to go pay our loan off, even though we made a $659 payment, we'd still owe $99,757, right? So all of that payment that we did in the first month didn't go to paying that loan off. It went towards the interest. And so what we can see now is that our interest is actually going to be calculated for the next payment off of this new balance. So because we owe less, our interest calculation is going to be less too. So what this means is that every single month, even though our payment stays the same, the split of where our interest and our principal is actually going. Now what this means for us is that the loan is going to get paid down quicker. Each and every single time we make a payment, more and more money is going towards paying that loan off instead of paying interest. The reason being, well, whenever banks design this, they want to make all of their profit up first, right? They want to make all their interest. All of this money in the interest column is essentially profit for the bank, right? So this is how it would work. If we want to see how much total in 2021 we're going to pay if we started in May, the interest, we'd have $3,300 of interest paid and $1,975 of actual principal paid. So how many payments is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So let's do some quick math. We're going to do 8 times 659. That's going to give us $5,272, right? So we paid in this year, even though it was a partial year, $5,272, and only $1,975 of that went to reducing our loan. We didn't even pay $2,000 off of this loan. So the next year, it's going to work the same way. It's going to keep on going. But now this year, we're actually going to pay less overall per payment in terms of interest and more in principal. So this is a partial year, so it's not fair to compare, but let's look at the year after that. So again, this is the interest category. This is not going towards paying our loan off. In the year 2022, we paid $4,800 of interest and $3,088 of principal. And then the following year, we paid $4,600, which is less, and then we paid $3,246 off. So the payoff is accelerating. Even though we're not putting more money in, the payoff, the way that this loan is going down is going to accelerate. And that's going to be shown in this graph up here, right? So if we see this red line, this is the balance. And one thing we're going to notice is that this balance starts going down faster and faster between each of these points. From 37 to 30 to 24, right? This is going to go down faster and faster and faster. And that's a really good thing to know about loans, because you have to know if you're going to buy a piece of real estate and you're trying to calculate your NOI, and you're trying to calculate your debt payments, and you're trying to calculate your cash flow. Sometimes you can make more money through an interest, not an interest pay down, but a principal pay down in the later years of an investment. So even though the appreciation might not be as much, you could still be building more equity, because more of those debt service payments are going to be going towards paying that off and increasing your equity that way, right? So it's important to know how a loan will work. And also, if you think that you're going to make $100,000 of payments in the first 2 years of investment property, you go, man, I'm going to have $100,000 of equity, Wrong, right? Not the case. That's not always going to be true. You can make a ton of payments and really have no more equity in there depending on your interest rate, right? If you have a super high interest rate. So it's important to understand how these things work. And we can just look here as this graph goes on. This is the amount of payments that are made each year. This full stack here is the total amount of payments. So we can see in the beginning, our principal is $3,000 and our interest is $4,000. And we see over time how our money changes. To the last year, we make almost 100% entirely principal payments and very, very little interest, right? In this last year, if we look, we're going to make almost all payments in principal and very, very little interest payments. So you see we go from owing the bank $10,000 to owing the bank $2,613 to zero. And all that's happened super rapidly just because the rate at which this is happening. So, whenever you're halfway through a loan, you're still going to owe more than half of that money that you borrowed. Whenever you're 25% of the way through a loan in terms of its life cycle, if it's a 20-year loan, then 25% of the way would be 5 years through it. You're going to owe way more than that proportion of time, right? Just because of the way that these loans work. So I want to make this video. I want to make it easy for you guys to understand. You can come here to amortization-calc.com. This is a free tool. I don't always use this tool. A lot of my deal analyzers have these built into them. And so there's a deal analyzer too that you guys can use that auto calculates all of this for you. If you just go to haydencrabtree.com/resources, you can get that deal analyzer absolutely free. And really most deal analyzers should have all of these features built into them and do this for you. I just wanted you to have a tool to come through and look and know exactly where you'll be in what period of time. It's also important to know each and every single year, once you actually own a property, how much goes towards principal and how much goes towards interest, because that interest is a tax write-off and you have to know how much of it you paid. So you can use tools like this as well for tax purposes. So I hope this video is valuable. Again, please subscribe to the channel. If you need a copy of this book, if you're like, what the heck is Hayden talking about? You can pick a copy of this book up for free in the description below. I hope I'll see you in the next video. Check out some other ones on this page and keep crushing it. Keep rolling. Let's get after it. See ya.